In today's episode, we discuss topics that may be difficult to hear. We talk openly about grief, loss, and the heavy emotions that often accompany them. If these subjects are sensitive for you, please listen at your own pace, take care of yourself, pause when needed, and remember to breathe. If you need someone to talk to, Rhapsody Counseling is available at 210 286 9339. You can also reach 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which is available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or text the word CONNECT, CONNECT, to the number 741-741 for additional support. Welcome to Authentic Beyond the Couch, the podcast where healing goes beyond the therapeutic room. I'm your host, Jirzia Blackmon, and together we will explore real, raw conversations about life, growth, and embracing your most authentic self. This is your space for courage, connection, and healing beyond the couch. Let's dive in. Hi, my name is Jirzia Blackmon, and welcome to Authentic Beyond the Couch. I am so excited. I have with me my sister in love, Renee Samuel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So today we're going to talk about a topic, and this is something that she and I were just talking in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what I want Authentic Beyond the Couch to be about. Would you be willing to share? And so we're going to talk about a topic that people don't talk about. Something that, and that's exactly what you said. Why no one talks about this?
Yeah.
Okay? So we're going to talk about grief and loss. So before we get into that, Renee, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Mm-hmm. I am Renee Samuel, and I am the mother of London Samuel, and I'm an entrepreneur. My business is called Essentials in Harmony, and I am now a widow. I lost my husband a few months ago, and we're here.
Yeah. So we will talk a bit about her business and leave some links for you to purchase some things. But let's talk a little bit about grief and loss.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we start? I know the first thing you said was why there's just some things that we just don't talk about.
Yeah.
Take us through that journey.
I've lost people before. I lost my mom, and going through that, although that was different as well, was going through the grief for me. Losing my husband was a lot harder and a lot more different. And you go through a lot of things that you never hear people talk about. People expect for you to cry and to curl up in a ball in a corner and just stay there. And when you don't do that, they think that something is wrong and they're nervous for you for some reason. And people go through grief very differently, and I went through grief a lot different. There are things that people just don't tell you, especially with losing a spouse. You feel empty after you lost your spouse, and you feel like almost confused because you're so empty. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to go, and almost you don't know how to function. And you never hear people talk about that. You never hear people talk about some of those thoughts you have. Or one of the things I remember saying early to my therapist is that I understand why spouses die right after they've lost a spouse, because it's easy. It's easy to feel like you want to die, or it's easy to feel like you can't go on because you've lost such a major part of you, and the emptiness is almost overtaking. Yeah. So there's that. Then there's the feeling like I have a 7 year old, feeling like maybe the better parent left, and maybe I should have gone instead of him so that he can take care of her. Um, Feeling like you don't know what to do with her because you're going through all of these things and you're still trying to function, and you don't want to function. You want a moment, but because you have a child, I have a 7 year old, I have to function. I have to get up and do all of the things, and make sure that I'm okay so that she's okay, and that I'm not crumbling and she's not picking up the pieces for me because that's not her job.
That was really deep. So you touched on so many points. Can you tell us about the loneliness?
Yeah, that's another thing people really don't, talk about. And I'm saying that probably because I don't know a lot of people who's lost a spouse. Um, and so people go based on the grief they've experienced and just losing like people who may have been close. But when you lose a spouse, that is a part of you, um, especially like, tapping into my biblical beliefs. um, the Bible says that the two becomes one, and if you become one, and now one of you are gone, you've lost some of you, and it's a loneliness that is almost undescribable. Yeah. So again, the two becomes one, and when one is gone, a part of you have left, and I think I never realized how much of me or how much we were just so entangled until he left. And the loneliness is loud. Um, you feel like, what's the point of doing certain things? I can't do it with him. What's the point of, just what's the point? And it's a lonely road to walk. As much as people try to be there for you, people still have their families and they still get to go back to their families and do things with their families. And you're left alone to figure things out for your family. So oftentimes it's, me and my daughter trying to figure things out, or me trying to figure out what to do with her so that she's just not at home, just not wasting time, and so that she still gets to experience a decent childhood. But the road of grief is very lonely, and the road of grief, not having a spouse, is even lonelier. Because you still go through all of these things. You still want to, build your family. You still want to have certain time with your spouse. You still want to do things with your spouse. Not only do you want to do things with your spouse, your body still feels certain things and longs for certain things. Um, and when the reality hits, it's just like, yeah, you can't do those things. It's just you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And so I know you had talked about how people thought that you were okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. One of the questions that people ask all the time is, "How are you?" And I don't know how people think you're supposed to be.
Right. Do they really want the real
Right.
answer?
So oftentimes I find myself saying, "I'm okay," because what am I going to tell you? And if I do tell you how I am, what are you going to do with that? And how are you going to change that? And I remember someone said to me, "Oh, I thought you were good. You know, you show up and you're smiling, and so I thought you were okay." And I'm like, no, no one who loses a spouse is okay, especially so fast. Um, you show up. I show up for things, yes, because life still is happening. I show up for things. I smile, um, and you still smile. You still laugh. You find those moments, but you're not okay. You're a lot is going through your mind, a lot is on your heart, and you're really not okay. But because things still have to go on, and you still have to show up for things, you show up. I'm not going to show up crying. I'm not going to show up, down and sad all the time because that's just not who I am. And that, honestly, I don't even think that's like reality for people to do that. So you show up and you smile and you get through the days, and but you're not okay. You're not okay, and you probably will not be okay for a long time. Um, but it doesn't mean that you can't show up. You can't do certain things. You can't live. You have to still live, especially because for me, I remember waking up one morning and like, God, I'm awake. Like I'm here. I'm still here. Um, and because I was hoping, like He took me, like because what's the point? So don't wake me up. But I remember getting up and saying, God, I'm still here. And it was like, okay, you're still here. Got up, I took my daughter to school, and I sat in the car and I said, well, let me open my Bible and read. And I remember reading, and it was specifically, I didn't choose it because of grief, but it spoke to my grief and where I was. And I'm like, okay, God, like, I don't get this. I don't understand this. I don't understand you right now. I don't know if I want to talk to you right now, but this is what it says, and I'm going to hold on to this for now, for the moment. And I held on to it for a couple of days, and you go right back to like, this can't be reality, So there's a lot of ups and downs, um, but you're never really okay.
Let's talk about that. And I love that you brought in God and your biblical beliefs. So I believe as a Christian, we have this idea that we should be okay, right? It's like, it is well with my soul. And I feel like that's what people expect you to say when you're, hey, how are you? Oh, it is well, right? Um, but being a therapist, I'm able to sit in spaces with clients where it is not well.
Yeah.
And it is not well for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's normal and that's healthy. And as anniversaries come and birthdays come and Father's Day and all these things come, it is not well with my soul. And so can you speak to that, your biblical belief, but your feelings?
Yeah. I think that it is normal and it is healthy. And God knows everything. He knows that I would be having these feelings and these thoughts. And for a while, for I was mad at God because my belief says that He has the power to do anything. So why did you wake him up? Why didn't you bring him back? Why did you allow this? I have a 7-year-old. Why did you allow this to happen to her so early in her life? So I was angry with God for a long time. Um, and even in that anger, me being angry, I still believed and trusted Him. I still held on to His word. Um, and I still had to keep going. And your feelings are, you're angry, you are mad with God. But at the same time, you know that He's God and He does all things. He doesn't do anything to hurt you, or that's what we like to say. But I do believe that He doesn't do anything to hurt us, like specifically. Like, I'm gonna take your husband so that hurts you. I don't believe that's what He did. Um, but you go through these feelings, and I really believe like you have to find within yourself the the words that speak to you, and find where you trust God enough and you believe Him enough and you hold on to that little bit that you still have that says He has you. He trust Him. He's going to take care of you. One of the scriptures that speaks so loud to me is God is a very present help in a time of trouble. You know, if He's very present in my trouble, He's still right there. Mm-hmm. And He's still, He's still gonna, like, take care of you in all of that. He knows that you're going through, He knows what you're facing, and He's still right there. And I believe He wants you to hold on to Him in those moments. I think that when you don't hold on to Him in those moments, that's when you really begin to lose control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like, just to add, it's like I feel like when clients come, or just in general, I think the belief is like, well, if he's he's walking with you through that, but it feels like we shouldn't experience her. Like he should take it away, right?
Yeah, that's what we believe. And I think a lot of times that's what we were taught. Mm-hmm. Like, we are taught that, God does all of these great things, and we're taught that He's a never failing God. We are taught that He's always right there and He's gonna turn it around. Like, you go through all the church stuff and all the hoopla, but nobody talks about, when things really hit. Someone said to the other day, I heard a lady say that, God took her mother, they diagnosed her mom with stage 4 cancer, and she went through the chemo, and she went through all the things, and she rang her bell, and she walked out of there because God had her, and what did she say? He works all things in our good, for our good. And I'm like, so what happens when you die from the cancer? Mm-hmm. Is it not, like, is He not working for our good? Mm-hmm. What happens when He takes a spouse? Is He not working for our good? What happens when things go south? Is He still not working for us? Did He leave us to the side to take care of other folks? Mm-hmm. Or is He still working for my good? Mm-hmm. And I believe that He is still working for my good. Things just didn't turn out how we wanted them to, and how the church tells us that they're turning out to be. So yes, He's a great God, mm-hmm. but things happen. Real life things happen.
Yeah. It's like, can we see turning for our good even when things are not good?
Right.
Like, that's still mm-hmm. good.
Right.
Right.
Right. And you don't hear a lot of that in our Christian belief. We just hear the good side of things, and nobody talks about the bad side of things, or when things are bad, when things are horrible, when you feel like you're losing your mind, when you feel like, you're thinking about suicide, you're thinking about all of these negative things. Nobody talks about those things, and how those things can still be real, even though you're still a Christian, but I'm still having these real thoughts mm-hmm. of suicide, or these real thoughts of being angry with God, these real thoughts of, what do I do now? And you're lost.
Yeah. Those real thoughts, human experiences.
Yeah.
Those real human experiences. Mm-hmm. I say it like your Gethsemane. Yeah. Your garden of Gethsemane is still a garden. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And when you think of a garden, you think of life, you think of newness, you think of seeds, you think of all these great things. Yeah. But when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, He was not feeling great.
At all.
At all.
Yeah.
I mean, so bad that He was bleeding, mm-hmm. Sweating blood, right? That doesn't feel really good.
No.
There was a song, Thy Will Be Done, that really, when I was in my dark moments and my depressed moments, that song really resonated with me, because it wasn't a good song. Like, it wasn't like a praise God song. It was just don't feel good right now. Yeah. I know I heard you loud and clear, but I followed through, but now I ended up here. Like, I don't want to think that my broken heart is a part of your plan.
Right.
Right? Sometimes I got to stop and remember that you are God and I'm not, and so it's, how do we, and you had spoke about this person who said this, and it could have been a setback for you, you said. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that?
I think it wasn't a setback for me, because I knew that she didn't mean anything by it. Mm-hmm. I knew that she was genuine, and when she said it, she just really thought that I was okay. And I think a lot of people do believe that because I don't show up, and I have not since my husband passed. I don't think anyone has really seen me fall apart or seen me crying or seen me do all the things they think I should be doing. So people assume that I'm okay. Mm-hmm. But when she said it, I didn't feel the way. I just was like, okay, maybe I should talk about it. Maybe I should let her know how I am feeling. And I did. And she was like, thank you for telling me that, because I would have never known, or I would have never thought that this is where you were. Mm. Like, I knew you weren't okay, but not to that extent. And I think, just having people like reach out, say, hey, how are you? And I'm like, do you really want to know? Like, or are you just trying to like be nosy? But some people, I don't know, people just don't know what to say. Um, and so they say the first thing that comes to mind, which sometimes is not the best thing. And I think, like, when my husband did pass, there were a lot of things said that I didn't address. I did everything in my head, but I was just like, what in the world? Like, are you crazy? Are you okay? Like, what's happening right now? Because, and I got to a point where I even wanted to fight physically because I could not understand, like, are you talking to me right now? Like, I don't think you're talking to me right now. But people, they want to be there, they want to show up, but they just don't know what to say. And it's just like, just don't say anything. Just be there. Just don't say anything. And I'm just like, okay, God, like, what's going on? People were like, so are you going to change your last name back? Oh, I noticed you're not wearing your rings. Did you put them away already? And I'm just like, what is happening? Why are you paying that much attention to me? One. Two, why are we talking about me changing my last name back? That is, one, none of your business. And I'm not even, I think when that was said, it wasn't even a full 2 weeks yet. And I'm just like, what is happening? So are you going to get remarried? And I'm just like, he's not even in the ground yet. What's happening? These are not my thoughts. These are the furthest thing from my thoughts. So how are they yours? And why are you bringing it up?
So no is sometimes you just need people to be there.
Just be there.
Don't say
anything. Or if you want to say something, think about what you're going to say before you say it. Mm-hmm. And that's something our parents teach us from small. Think before you speak so that you're not offensive. You're not, bringing up a feeling of rage. And I think I was in rage for a long time, for a while, because people just didn't know what to say. But you don't want to like invoke these feelings in people because everything is already sensitive. Everything is already at a high point. So just be there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just be there. Just be present. You spoke about this several times, and you talked about when grief looks different. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's really important to stress because I think we have this expectation of what it should look like. Yeah. And you should be crying, you should be devastated. But what if you don't look that way, but you look strong, yeah. Right? Do you want to speak to that? Like,
yeah, I think like, again, for me, I didn't, when I found out my husband passed, I did cry initially because one, I was confused. I had just spoken to him. So what was happening? Like, it was a lot. But typically, I'm not really a big crier. So when people saw me, I was very much together, physically. I wasn't crying all over the place. I wasn't like curled up in a ball. I wasn't in a corner in the house. I wasn't sitting in the dark. I was functioning. And people don't expect you to function. They expect for you to crumble, and they expect for you to crumble publicly. So people were scared. Like, oh, she's not crying. Like, when she cries, it's gonna be bad. And the same thing for my daughter. People were like nervous for her, like, oh my gosh, she's not crying. How's she really taking it? She doesn't understand. And I'm like, anybody who knows my daughter knows that she's brilliant. She is intelligent. So I'm like, no, she very well understands what's happening. Um, it just doesn't look like what you think it should look like. And people just couldn't understand that. And they kept saying, oh my God, like, you're making me nervous. And I'm like, why? And one of the things I learned from my husband, one of the things he taught often was emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. And you can be emotionally intelligent. You do not have to, one, you don't have to give in to what people think you should be doing. You don't have to give in to that. It does not have to look like that. I think a lot of what happened with me, a lot happened in my mind. So when I wasn't saying anything, my mind still was going. I wasn't crying a lot, but I had a lot of anxiety attacks, and I never struggled with anxiety. Mm-hmm. And at first, that first couple days, I didn't understand what was happening. I just kept having these palpitations, and I kept having like to stop what I was doing to breathe. Mm-hmm. And it was my sister who said she said, I need you to stop and breathe. You're having an anxiety attack. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I've never had it before. I didn't experience this before. So just breathe. And when she told me that, as I'm thinking, I will stop and just breathe. And I'm like, okay, but even in me stopping to breathe, people also just didn't notice that either. So there are other things that happen that it just doesn't look like you sobbing all the time, but there are things happening, the anxiety attacks. People will be talking to me and I have no clue what you're saying, but I'm responding like, mm-hmm. And I had to stop one time. I had to stop and say to my sister, I had no clue what you just said. And we just laughed because she's like, but you responded. I'm like, I know, but I don't know what you said. And I found myself doing that so much. I think sometimes I still do it, but those first couple days, I just kept saying, and they were like, did you hear? My niece was like, did you hear me? No. So things are happening, but it doesn't look like the regular, again, crying and people consoling you, and it just doesn't look like that. But things are still happening mentally. And I think when you're like a quieter person, like I am, that a lot of things happen mentally and internally. And so you show up. And I think even at the funeral, people expected me to just be all over the place. And I'm just like, yeah, no, one, that's not who I am. Two, I would hear my husband say to me all the time, like, don't let them see you sweat. And that kind of just rang in my ears, like, don't let them see you sweat. You get through it, you go through it. When you get by yourself or in a place where you're comfortable, then you sweat, you cry, you let it out. And that's what I did. I did that, whether it was with people or alone or people I trusted. I think sometimes you feel like you don't always have a safe space. So you have to hold that in until you find a safe space to release those tears or to release those emotions and to get up and go again.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about your safe space that you eventually found?
I don't know that I found a safe space. Well, let me take that back. I have found a safe space in my therapist, she's phenomenal. Her name is Kimberly, I believe. I don't even know her real name. That's a shame.
I call her therapist's name.
I call her Kimmy. I've known her as Kimmy. But I believe her name is Kimberly Sayers, but I know her as Kimmy. Mm-hmm. She's phenomenal. She's a Christian woman, and she's just phenomenal. And when I first started, I didn't know what to expect, because I'm like, it's therapy. What are we going to talk about here? Are we going to talk about real life? Are we talking about just the situation? And when we first started, I think our first session was not even on my grief. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then when we came back, we kind of jumped into it, and I'm talking and sharing, and she's just like, you know, I can see you fighting back your tears, and you don't have to do that here. And I'm just like, okay. Now, to this day, I still fight back tears when I talk to her. And she's always like, I can see you fighting back, and I'm not going to tell you again that you don't have to. But she really made it a place where I can share anything about whatever I was going through. And it was completely safe. I feel safe and comfortable to tell her anything. And again, for me, I'm a very private person. I'm a very internal person. I keep a lot to myself. And my business is my business. So to have that safe space allowed me to release a lot of internal stuff, a lot of things that I just held captive within me that I really needed to release, and release some of the grief, which I needed to do, to really just keep functioning. Now, grief comes in, different waves, and you never know when it's going to just slap you, but you're able to now take it and not crumble, because now you have tools that you have from your therapist, that you kind of work through, and you can function. And one of the things she kept saying is two things can exist at once. Two feelings can exist at once. And that kind of spoke aloud to me when she said it, because I'm like, again, you're a Christian. Like, God, I'm a Christian. How am I mad at God? Right? As a Christian, how am I mad at him? But love him at the same time and trust him at the same time. And she kept saying two things can exist at once. And I just took that and held on to that across the board, whether it's my Christian life or what I'm feeling for the day. I just held on to that. So if you need a therapist, find your therapist.
Yeah.
We have a great one here.
She's not taking it away. But that's the goal in this, with is understanding that, just like you said, like, I feel like us as a culture, and us as a Christian culture, so not only as being African Americans, Afro Latina, like, we don't talk about stuff, right? It's like what happens in the house stays in the house, and one, because we couldn't trust that people had our best interest at heart, right? And even in our Christian culture, it's the same. It's like, you don't know if somebody's going to tell you business, and they're going to talk about it, like, because we know how Christians are,
right?
And so we were taught, and we are taught, to keep these things to ourselves, but it's eating us inside.
Yeah.
And so for you I love that you talked about your journey, right? It's like, it's finding that safe space, being able to speak to somebody. And the Bible says, in the multitude of counsel lies wisdom. God encourages us to seek counsel and to speak to people. We were talking a little bit about Adam and Eve, and how, God said it's not good for man to be alone. And I believe that it's that communication, that, because he had God, he wasn't alone. But he had this communication with a human being, being able to talk bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, and how important it is to dialogue and have conversations, and how that gives us healing.
Definitely. And I believe that, especially for women. I say all the time that women, for me, I'm not a professional, but I believe that women, we grow through conversation. We heal through conversation. And I believe that everybody needs that safe space. And it's not just through therapy. You have a group of friends. I have a friend that I call, two friends that I can call and say anything to. And turns out to be healing. Now, they're not holding me captive to say, well, let's pray. We're just talking, and healing is coming. So I believe that through conversation, healing happens. I believe that through conversation, deliverance happens. I believe that through conversation, growth happens. And we just have to find those people that we feel are a safe space. And it's not everybody. Sometimes it may not be your sister. It may not be your brother. It may not be your therapist even. But there are people in your life that you can find safe. And if you don't have that, if you don't have that yet or now, you should really look internally to figure out, why don't I have people, at least one person who I feel safe with?
Yeah, because God wants us in community.
Absolutely.
To commune with each other, and that is where the healing is. And I do feel like the enemy does want us to isolate, and that's where you have those, the depressive thoughts and the anxious thoughts, is because we're, isolation. But I really appreciate you talking about, and I believe what you were expressing is trauma.
Yeah.
And your fight, your freeze, right, through that traumatic experience of losing a spouse so traumatically. And he's so young.
Yeah.
And so thank you for sharing the realities of, the thoughts, what's going through your mind when grief doesn't look like what everybody expects it to look like. Is there anything that you want to leave with everybody, and anything that you want them to know? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. But I really hope that we have normalized grief for you. If we have normalized the thoughts that may come, the feelings that may come, the emotions that come. It may not look like everybody else's. You may not be crying, and some of us do. Some, like, I do have some clients where, they can't stop crying, and they're, feeling like they just can't go on. And every time they think about it, and they're not eating, they're not sleeping, and that's all healthy and normal as well. And I love the fact that you emphasize two things can exist at once, right? There could be moments that you're good and moments that you're feeling you're not so good. And that's all healthy, and that's all good. Because these are human experiences and human feelings that we should be having. It's not a demon.
It's not a demon.
It's a human experience.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to leave with that?
For the people who are not experiencing grief, just be patient and be supportive and present with those who are experiencing. And don't push your idea of grief on them. Allow them to have these experiences. And for the people who are going through, whether it's a spouse or a parent or whatever it is, allow yourself to go through grief the way you need to go through it. You don't have to meet anyone's expectations. You don't have to do the things you think you should be doing. Just allow yourself to go through the process and have some healthy boundaries, and have some healthy conversations with people. Find you a therapist, find you someone to talk to, so that you're not internalizing everything, and be healed and be whole.
So thank you for listening to Authentic Beyond the Couch. We are excited to have you. Please, if you have someone or know someone that would benefit from this information, please share, subscribe, so that you can hear all the great things that we'll be talking through this show. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Authentic Beyond the Couch. I hope today's conversation brought you insight, comfort, and simply reminded you that you are not alone on this journey. If you found this episode meaningful, please follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who may need to hear it. You can connect with me on Instagram at authenticbeyond_the couch for more resources and authentic conversations. Until next time, keep showing up as your most truthful self, and remember, healing can continue even beyond the couch.